Part 24. My Love Simulation with Them. Author, Chiudeo Udaziiwe. Chapter 232. Just thinking about it? When I arrived in Nangxiang, I took a deep breath of fresh air and prepared to go home to face tomorrow when there would be absolutely nothing to deal with. But it was also at this time. Excuse me, can you wait a moment? A steady, cold voice without any fluctuation sounded from behind. This made Nangxiang she couldn't help but look sideways. Do not know when. Already standing behind him was a girl wearing an Oka high school uniform and a white coat. The girl's waist-length hair is very fluffy. The hair on the forehead is slightly curled. The eyebrows are long and slender, and when they are raised upward, they show a serious feeling. The opponent's figure is petite, and what doesn't match that petite figure is a majestic career line on his chest that can be compared with Mount Fuji. The golden eyes looked knowledgeable and calm because of the glasses he was wearing and the white coat he was wearing. Just looking at her dress and appearance, it can be easily concluded that the girl in front of her is a standard science girl. Nangxiang she glanced at the other party, then frowned and spoke with some uncertainty, "Are you, Fudabario from class 4? Yes. When I was in Nangxiang, I had an impression of the girl in front of me. The girl's name is Fudabario. He is a member of the 4th class of the 2nd grade of Oka High School." The reason why Nangxiang had an impression of her was actually very simple. As early as a month ago, he had seen Ryo Futaba accept the award in the national physics competition on behalf of Oka High School. Since it was a school-wide commendation, Nangxiang had an impression of it. But it only stops at the aspect of having an impression. After all, the fact that the other party received the National Physics Competition award had nothing to do with him, and he was not a classmate. Naturally, he just remembered his name and threw it into the corner of his memory. But why did Fudabario, who had never had a social relationship with him, suddenly come to him? Nangxiang she was a little confused. It's just that the other party's withdrawn and cold temperament is a scientific woman, and she doesn't seem like the kind of person who would talk to anyone casually, right? Nangxiang felt a little strange and just wanted to continue asking questions. Then I heard a voice coming from my ear. Discovered object that can be simulated, Ryo Futaba. The system prompt that suddenly rang in his ears surprised Nangxiang shi. He really didn't expect that Fudabario in front of him actually met the simulation conditions. But I still have to say what needs to be said and what needs to be asked. Nangxiang shi ignored the system prompts for the time being and asked, "What's the matter?" "Futaba-san." It was clearly Fudabario who took the initiative to say hello. But at this time, she didn't say anything, she just stared at Nangxiang shi with her golden eyes hidden behind her glasses. After a while. "Tomorrow, could you please come to the science preparation room?" It was clear that the tone here should be questioning, but Fudabario's words had an air of certainty. Nangxiang frowned. He didn't even want to give a reason, so he was asked to go to the science preparation room. "I have some questions to ask you." "All right. Should I be called a science girl?" Nangxiang she agreed. "Although I don't particularly want to waste my rare day off. But if you just go over and listen to the other person's problem." It's just such a simple request that Nangxiang she can still accept. A rough appointment was made with Fudabario on a meeting time. Nangxiang she didn't hesitate anymore and walked towards the station. Along the way, he was a little concerned and couldn't help but think about the name Fudabario. After all, it is the simulated object that the simulator just prompted. Follow the usual routine. The other party should also be the heroine in a certain drama or animation. Besides, the name Fudabario does give Nango a sense of familiarity. He must have heard of it in his previous life, but he wasn't particularly impressed. He had been thinking about it since he got on the tram and sat down. The handsome look with slightly furrowed eyebrows and a straight face looking out the window of the tram instantly attracted the attention of several female students next to him who had just boarded the tram, probably from other schools. They gathered together secretly to discuss. I don't know which studio this handsome young man came from as an idol, he looks really young. In this way, they talked quietly until they saw Nang Xiang getting out of the car and walking away. Several girls then regretted why they didn't take the initiative to ask for each other's contact information. Compared to the thoughts of several girls on the tram, my thinking in Nang Xiang became much simpler. That is, I seemed to have some impression. When Nang Xiang had already returned to the rental house, he reached out and hit his head. After thinking hard just now, he finally remembered the general origin of Fudabario. In his previous life, he had seen an anime called Young Boys Don't Dream About Bunny Girl Senpai. The character Fudabario comes from this animation. But it was different from the heroine that Nang Xiangxi had imagined before. Fudabario is just an important supporting character in Young Boys Don't Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai. This was also the biggest reason why I didn't have a deep impression of her when I was in Nang Xiang. Some people can only remember the protagonist in an animation and subconsciously ignore the supporting roles that are equally important in the plot. They were this kind of people in Nang Xiang. After all, compared to a cold and lonely science girl like Fudabario, it was the celebrity girlfriend Mai Sakurajima who even revealed Nango's preferences at that time. And more importantly, I don't think Fudabario has someone she likes. Sitting in front of the small round table, Nang Xiangxi raised his eyebrows, looked at the simulated object in the simulator, and made a sound. Yes. In the original work of The Young Pig-Headed Boy Can't Dream of the Bunny Girl Sr. In high school, Fudabario had a slight affection for Kunimi Yuma, the best friend of the male protagonist Azuzagawa Sakuta. And Yuma Kunimi has his own girlfriend, Saki Kamisato. All in all, it's a messy relationship, similar to a love triangle. But let's be honest. When I watched the anime Nango, I actually didn't think Fudabario's feelings for Kunimi Yuma were love. At most, it's just the longing for the sunny and cheerful opposite sex in adolescence. Because the reason why Fudabario fell in love with Kunimi Yuma given in the original work was just because the other party once gave Fudabario a red bean paste bun. This reason. To be honest, if it were in a novel, you wouldn't care at all and just take a quick look at it and pass by. But in real life, a girl who falls in love with a boy because of a red bean paste bun, does it really exist? So at that time, Nango felt that Fudabario only had curiosity and admiration for Kunimi Yuma. The sunny and cheerful nature of the other party is something that a science girl like her, who is slightly withdrawn and cold, has never experienced or experienced. But, even so, it doesn't rule out the possibility that Rio Futaba likes Kunimi Yuma, right? Nangashi yawned and glanced at the name Fudabario in the simulation list. He made his decision very simply. No need to simulate. Yes. No need. If Fudabario really likes Kunimi Yuma, then even if he simulates it, it doesn't make any sense. Not to mention the waste of heartbeat points and simulation times, it's also a thankless task. Nang Xiangxi didn't want to do such a simple stupid thing. But before that, how come even a girl who has a crush can join the simulation list? MS Simulator. Nang Xiangxi poked at the light blue page of the simulator and spoke angrily. This simulator is getting more and more evil. I just added Goto-Eri to the simulation list before. At this moment, he even included someone like Fudabario who might like someone else into the simulation list. Do you really think I am Hikaru Genji? Generally refers to the person who raises young girls and marries them. He held up his face and continued to ask. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi Iway. Chapter 233. Or do you think I am a Tauran warrior? Huh. It was clear that Fudabario might have someone he liked, so he added her to his simulation list. Is this a joke? Minotaur, right? You like Tauren, right? I just want to say no. Nangxiang shook his head, then looked at his simulation list and stretched out his finger. Should Fudabario and Godu Yuri be removed from the simulation list? Sure enough, we can remove some people from the simulation list. Looking at the system prompts that appeared, Nangxiang became energetic. There's just something wrong with the current mock list. He had long wanted to clean up the messy names in the simulation list. And now that I see the system prompt. Nangxiangshi no longer hesitated, stretched out his finger and quickly swiped across the screen. You have removed Nango Yuho, Nango Shiho, Godu Yuri, and Fudabario from the simulation list. Good. Satisfied, Nangxiang took his fingers back and glanced at the large empty simulation list. Although many names were missing in an instant. But those are, after all, simulation objects with bad orientations such as German orthopedics, like Genji and Minotaur. It is safer to remove it. Then what happens next? The finger did not move from the simulator's light curtain. Nangxiangshi turned to look at the remaining heart rate. After a whole day of twists and turns at the Oka festival today, the number of heartbeat points he currently has is 1510 o'clock. Isn't this growth rate too fast? Nangxiang was a little surprised. It's only been a week since I last simulated it in person. Even when I watched it in Nangxiang yesterday, the heartbeat value only accumulated to over 400 points. Just today. Just increased the heart rate by nearly 1100 points. Although there is a bonus from the Oka festival. But this speed. Isn't it too fast? Muttering to himself, Nangxiang stared at the heartbeat value of 1510 in front of him. A huge sum of 1510 is in hand. There is no doubt that Nangxiangshi will be able to conduct in-person simulations again. So, what should we do next? Nanxiang thought so. Chapter 183. Ichisato Godu, the unfinished ending of the harem, 4,000 words. So, what should we do next? Nangxiangshi stared at the remaining heartbeat points and couldn't help but think. 1510 heartbeat value. This is undoubtedly a huge amount of money. Even a personal simulation here. After that, there are still 300 heartbeat points left, and you have a chance to simulate. The problem before Nangxiangshi was also very simple. That is, simulate it yourself. Or not simulate. To put it bluntly, Nangxiangshi personally prefers not to simulate this option. Because personally simulating it has no practical meaning for him. Spending 1200 heartbeat points, in the end you just go to the simulated world to experience the happy life after marriage with the simulated partners for 12 hours, other than that there is nothing attractive. As a self-disciplined, clean-minded young man who has strict control over his desires. Resisting this temptation is a piece of cake. Only. If you think about it the other way around, the heartbeat points are ultimately provided by the simulated object. Nangxiangshi looked at the heart rate of 1510 and frowned. Since it is the heartbeat value provided by the simulated object, then it is only natural to use this heartbeat value on them. So, just considering this, we still have to conduct simulations in person. Nangxiangshi nodded thoughtfully. There is nothing wrong with him. It's not that he can't resist temptation. It makes sense and is very reasonable to plan the use of heartbeat values. For Nangxiangshi, who is self-disciplined, cleans himself, and has his own standards and strict control over desires. But to this extent, it doesn't count as indulging in desire. Ahem. Then the topic comes back. Now that I have decided to do the simulation in person again, you must select an object from the list to simulate it yourself. Nangxiangshi stretched out his finger to pull up the simulation list. Look at the names among them. Simulated objects: Kazuri Goto, Ryo Yamada, Chisuke Nishikiki, Akane Shinjo. Miss Yamada doesn't have to think about it. Nangxiang looked away from Yamada Ryo's name. He had already simulated Miss Yamada in person last time, and he probably understood what kind of life Miss Yamada was like in married life. Ms. Yamada is very happy to have a husband like Nangoshi and a daughter like Nango Yuna. And knowing this is enough. Ms. Yamada doesn't need to think about it for the time being. Then the next candidate is to choose from Goto Kazuri, Nishiki Kishu, and Shinjo Akane. Nangxiang looked at these three names. The finger finally rested on Goto Ichiri. Sure enough, I still have to choose Ms. Goto. Nangxiang looked at Goto Ichiri's name and groaned. He had actually planned to choose Ichiri Goto last time. The other party is the first object of my simulation. In a sense, he is also the person he knows best. Only this level of relationship exists. Choosing Ms. Goto is already reasonable. Not to mention that Ms. Goto has always been at the top of the list of heartbeat contribution. This further strengthened Nangxiang's decision to choose Miss Goto. Last time, Ms. Yamada stepped in, so I had to change my goal. Nangxiang murmured to himself. But today is different. There are no more options for Ms. Yamada to worry about. The choice he made was of course Goto Kazuri. Put your finger on Goto Kazuri's name. A light blue window appeared on the system page. Do you want to spend 1,200 heartbeat points to simulate it yourself? Whether. I don't know what the post-marriage simulation with Ili will be like. Nangxiang was very curious. That cowardly girl with low self-esteem has now stepped onto huge stages such as the Budokan and Tokyo Dome. After becoming the queen of rock and roll, what will it be like after marriage? Think of this. Nangxiangshi stretched out his finger and clicked without hesitation. Yes. Current heart rate remaining, 310. Remaining number of personal simulations, 0. It is detected that the simulation object will not change in the future. Do you want to load the life simulation? Whether. It seems that the progress of the simulation is the same as before. It was really different from Miss Yamada's time. In Miss Yamada's personal simulation, because he changed the future, Yamada's father did not die as in the simulation. So the course of Ms. Yamada's life changed. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udaziiwei. Chapter 234. But Kazuri Goto was different. Just by looking at the system prompts, you can understand that Goto Ichiri's subsequent future will not change without his intervention. But wait a minute. When Nangxiang was about to raise his hand and choose yes, he was stunned for a moment. If Goto Ichiri's subsequent future is like the simulation, it will not change. So that means it's possible that Ijishi Hikaru and Kita Ikuyo also like me. Nangxiangshi suddenly realized that something was wrong. He didn't forget. When I was simulating Goto Ichiri's final happy ending. Because I worked hard to tutor the band in order to end the band, and finally fell ill. Taking this as an opportunity, Kita Ikuyo and Ijichi Hongzia also developed a love for him. In other words, if this continues in reality, is there a high possibility that Kita Ikuyo and Ijishi Najika also have feelings for him? This is really. Nangxiang frowned. So to say. Maybe you will get sick from overworking yourself from tutoring the closing band? How can it be? I didn't particularly believe it when I was in Nangxiang. After getting the simulator, he continued to run in the morning every day, and his energy improved greatly. Just tutoring? Although I do feel a little tired recently, it is far from the point where I am sick from overwork. Thinking of this, Nangxiangshi shook his head. Whether things will happen or not, that is all in the future. The best I can do now is to take precautions and pay attention to my physical condition. There's no use thinking about it. Nang Xiang stopped thinking and clicked yes. Option to move to the next stage. Please select a simulation time node. Time node, 1 day in the 4th grade of Nangxiang Nazu Elementary School. With the last experience, Nangxiang Shi chose the familiar road next. The last time he chose it was when he was in high school with Miss Yamada's daughter. Then this time, let's choose my daughter's elementary school years and see what happens. Nangxiang Shi lay on the bed and waited quietly for the simulation to begin. Personal simulation begins. Using the excuse of learning guitar, you knocked on the door of the Stars showroom, but you never thought that on the day you knocked on the door of Stars, you actually knocked on their hearts unknowingly. You have made rapid progress in guitar learning. It is precisely because of this that you have aroused the girls' passion for musical instrument skills they are not willing to lose to you in the areas they are good at. But due to excessive focus on musical instruments, their performance has generally declined. Although they don't care, their declining grades are enough to put them in danger of repeating a grade after getting along with them for a long time. You have become friends with them long ago, but how can you ignore them when you see them in trouble? You lend a helping hand to them, and your careful tutoring brings their endangered grades back to the average level. In the process, they gradually become concerned about your situation. But things happened in the end, because you were tired from tutoring them for a long time and took a rest, and during this process, it was the girl who ended the band who accompanied you. Although you are not an official member of the ending band, all the members of the ending band have already regarded you as an equally important person as the band members. Under their careful care, you gradually recovered, and they gradually and heartily accepted you as the only male. You cherish and love them, and they do the same to you. Your relationship with them takes a further step at this time. In order to get the band on the right track, you were admitted to the University of Tokyo, and with your excellent interpersonal skills and learning ability, you pulled the band out of the quagmire of confusion during the rising period. At this time, in their eyes, you are both a beacon in the fog and a morning star in the dark night. Ending the band has grown further, and in the process, something that no one expected happened. Ijishi Hongxia confessed to you. In fact, everyone knows very well that each of them has more or less admiration for you who has worked hard for the band. But in the face of Ichiki Hunka's confession and Yamada's confession on the rooftop, you finally refused. Because among all the people, the one you are most worried about is still the cowardly girl with long pink hair and low self-esteem. You and Ichiri Goto fell in love, but Najika Itaka, Ryo Yamada, and Ikuyo Kida did not feel depressed, nor did they give up. They just put all the sincere feelings for you in their hearts and cherish them. Nangxiang Shi. When Nangxiang saw this line of words, he couldn't help but rub his temples. Although Miss Goto's simulated ending this time is a happy ending. But just looking at the description of the simulator, this is not a qualified harem ending route. It's just that there is no point in worrying about the route that has been simulated. Nangxiang Shi could only watch the words continue to evolve downwards. Even if they later appeared on huge stages such as Budokan and Tokyo Dome, they have expressed a clear rejection in the face of the pursuit of countless people in the industry. And their feelings for you have never faded, but have become more and more radiant. Similarly, your married life with Ichiri Goto is also very happy. All kinds of complicated emotions are mixed together, until today. Mother Liang, Mother Liang. What do you think should be a better way to write this song? The little black-haired girl in a white dress who was holding the music score ran to a mature-looking woman with short blue hair and a tear mark at the corner of her eye, and curiously raised the music score in her hand. Nangxiang Nazu is 9 years old this year. He inherited his father's excellent academic talent and black hair from Nangxiang, and also inherited his mother's slender and delicate face from Nangxiang. She is only in the 3rd grade, and her appearance with red lips and white teeth is enough to make people feel cute. A request to meet such a cute little girl. No matter who it was, he would probably have a soft heart and try his best to answer her questions, right? But after the woman with short blue hair heard what she said, she just put down the wine glass in her hand lazily, then stretched out her white and soft palm, and spoke without any fluctuation in her tone. No take, the consultation fee is 2,200 yen. Ryo Yamada, 31 years old, asked a child who was no more than 9 years old for consulting fees. Why? Nango no take made a dissatisfied voice. That innocent childish face was filled with incomprehension. Why did my mother-in-law actually ask a child like me, who was only 9 years old, for money? Doesn't this person have the backbone to be an adult? Mother Liang, if you act like this, Mother Hungzia will say that you are a social loser who asks a child for money. Nango no take looked at the opponent's outstretched palm and made a protesting sound. Whatever Hungzia says. I'm just telling you in advance that you will need to face the cruel side of society when you grow up. Yamada Ryo seemed unconcerned, 2,200 yen. Hey? Why is this like this? And doesn't Ryo's mother usually only need 2,000 yen? Nangxiang Nazu pouted his lips angrily. Usually, Ryo Yamada only charges 2,000 yen. Why did you go even further today and charge an extra 200? She couldn't accept it? The reason is simple. The woman with dark blue short hair in front of her crossed her legs, and her perfect leg shape was highlighted by the tight jeans. Under Nango no take's gaze, she spoke leisurely without any fluctuation in her tone. Today is Valentine's Day. Your father didn't give me a Valentine's Day gift, so I will charge you an extra 10% as interest. It would be wrong if Dad really gave Ryo's mother a Valentine's Day gift, right? Although he was nearly 9 years old, Nangxiang Nazu still spoke very sensibly. Dad has a lot of parents. That's why I said no take, you are too young and don't understand anything. Raising his hand to drink the sake in the glass, Yamada Ryo lazily yawned and said confidently, it's better to be a married man. Why? After hearing this, Nangxiang Nazu wanted to say something else. But before he could say anything, he was interrupted by the voice next to him. What does it mean to be a married man? With mature blonde hair and a high ponytail, Ichiki Hunka just put away her clothes and walked in from outside. She immediately spoke angrily, what kind of education are you giving a 9-year-old child? Ryo. Yamada Ryo snorted twice proudly, this is our Yamada family's exclusive education method. I have never heard of such an education method. Really? Does this person really know what he is talking about? Chapter 184. Go to bed late today, Ely, 4,000 words. Really, does this guy really know what he's talking about? Itaki Hungzia glared at Yamada Ryo. But in the end, he just glared at Yamada Ryo. Already 31 years old, when facing her best friend, she was still as helpless as before. Yamada Ryo didn't care about Ichiki Hunka's glare. He didn't even flinch at all and asked plausibly. Don't Hungzia hope to get a Valentine's Day gift from that guy? Well. As soon as these words were spoken, Ujizi Hungzia's voice froze obviously. Don't want to receive a Valentine's Day gift from Nangxiangshi? Just thinking about it makes you realize it's impossible, right? She likes Nangxiangshi very much. Without each other, it would be absolutely difficult to realize the dream of ending the band that I have always wanted to realize. If only she could receive the Valentine's Day gift Nangxiang gave her. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi Iway. Chapter 235. Ujizi Hungzia simply couldn't imagine how happy she would be. The toes hidden under the yellow boat socks moved restlessly. After all, we have known that guy for so long, right? Isn't it his problem that he doesn't even want to give a Valentine's Day gift? When Ms. Yamada said this, she felt indescribably confident. Ujizi Hungzia opened her mouth. Emotionally speaking, she wanted to agree with Yamada Ryo's words. but from a rational point of view. Stop saying weird things. Itake Hungzia shook her head, but she still avoided being led off the rhythm by Yamada Ryo. After all, this guy is an extremely free and lawless weirdo in every sense of the word. Yujishi Hungzia directly ended the topic, and then she picked up the laundry basket on the ground again, with a virtuous feeling, if you let the little lonely hear this, you guy. Hey? What happened to me? Some curious voices came from around me. Nangxiang Ili, who still had the same long hair as in high school, walked out of the side room. She obviously didn't hear the topic discussed by Itake Hikaru and Yamada Ryo. A pair of crystal clear blue eyes were full of curiosity and incomprehension. Is there something you want to tell me? Well. Yujishi Hungzia really didn't expect Nangxiang Ili to appear so quickly. Little loneliness, didn't you go shopping for Valentine's Day gifts with Nangxiang-kun? Ah, well, Toki always has more ideas than me. I just went over and bought the gift. What's the matter? Hungzia-chan. Nangxiang Ili answered this question in a soft voice. Now that she is a mother, she is no longer as timid and cowardly as before, but her subconscious weakness when speaking cannot be changed at all. Ah, it's nothing. I was just talking to Ryo about other things. Little lonely, you don't have to pay attention. Ichiki Hunka said while winking at Yamada Ryo on the other side. Even a 9-year-old girl like Nango Note covered her mouth and had no intention of telling what happened just now. But actually, we were just discussing a very important matter. Miss Yamada spoke. A very important thing. Nangxiang walked over a little curious. It's just loneliness. Don't you think it's unfair for us that you are the only one receiving that guy's gift on Valentine's Day? Looking at Ryo Yamada, who was not confident and confident, Itake Hungzia was really confused. This guy with short blue hair. Even a 9-year-old girl like Note knows what can and cannot be said. As a result, this guy actually. Yidizi Hungzia turned her face away, not daring to look at Nangxiang. Compared with Yidizi, Hongxia felt guilty. On the other side, Nango Ichiri looked a little surprised, as if he didn't expect Yamada Ryo to say this. She hesitated for a while, then whispered. Hey. That, seems to be quite unfair. It's not like, but it's just unfair. We've known that guy for so long. Yamada Ryo's lazy and elegant face came closer, with a very serious expression. So lonely, I order you to transfer she's gift to me now. Why? Nangxiang Ili is indeed the mother of Nangxiang Nazu. Both mother and daughter expressed their reluctance in exactly the same way. However, Yamada Ryo ignored her, looked over with a pair of amber eyes, and at the same time stretched out his palm. Where? A gift to loneliness. Liang-san. Is it here? Ryo Yamada was attentive. Ryo-san. Don't touch there, that's my bra button. Let's talk about this here. Underwear. Or. Just as Yamada Ryo was groping up and down Nango Ichiri, a strange voice came from the side. What are you doing? Why? Everyone present was stunned at this moment. Only the little Nango Note cried out happily when he saw the person making the noise. Dad. Kita mom. The visitors just happened to be Nango Toki, who came in from the outside, and Ikuyo Kita, who happened to meet him. At this time, the two of them were looking at what was happening on the field with strange expressions. Nangxiang Ili was disheveled, his face flushed with shyness. Yamada Ryo, on the other hand, looked attentive and serious, even extending his hand into the deep chest of Nango Ichiri that attracted other people's attention even more than the cherry blossom trees in spring. What are you doing to other people's wives? Ryo. Nangxiang reached out and knocked Yamada Ryo directly on the head. This woman is really. No matter which world line she is on, she is simply a model of stable performance. Should we simply stop pursuing him in this world? Have you attacked Nangxiang Ili? It hurts, she. With an expressionless expression, he pulled his hands away from Nango Ichiri's body, and Yamada Ryo covered his head. You also know the pain. Nanxiangshi couldn't help but cast a sidelong glance at Miss Yamada. So, what exactly is going on? Can you explain it a little bit? Mainly because he really didn't expect to see such an explosive scene not long after he experienced the personal simulation. Several people sat down. Then Ichiki Hunka had no choice but to tell her what happened just now. When telling the reason, the always cheerful and generous former band leader blushed with embarrassment. Because it's so stupid. Because he really wanted Nangxiangshi's Valentine's Day gift, he got into an argument, and was eventually discovered by Nangxiangshi. Is there anything in this world that causes more social death than this? As expected. After she finished speaking, everyone present fell silent. Only Ryo Yamada remained calm, and even asked curiously, "What's wrong?" Everyone. In every sense of the word, this woman is a very terrifying existence. But never mind. It was also at this moment when everyone was silent. As the only male in the room, Nangxiangshi finally shook his head helplessly and stood up. "Ili, I took out my things." "Ah, okay, take it out." "That thing?" Nangxiang Ili nodded. "That thing?" After listening to Nango Toki's words, Yamada Ryo, Itaka Hikaru, and Kita Ikuyo all raised their heads curiously. Under their curious gaze, Nangxiangshi put his palm into the paper bag next to him. Then, 3 gifts in different packages were taken out. He gave these 3 gifts to Yamada Ryo, Itaka Hikaru, and Kita Ikuyo. "This is..." Ujizi Hungzia looked down and made an incredible sound. If you look at it from the packaging, the things given to them in Nangxiang were undoubtedly Valentine's Day gifts. But, they don't have the guts to accept the Valentine's Day gifts from Nangxiang. Even if they, Nango Toki and Nango Ichi, are best friends since high school, even Nango Notake regards them as godmothers. But no position means no position. Their relationship with Nangxiangshi is not that. What's more, little Lonely is still there. If she misunderstood? With a bit of joy, excitement, and uneasiness, Ujizi Hungzia secretly looked towards Nangxiang Ili. And someone with a similar expression to her is Kita Ikuyo. She obviously didn't expect to receive such a surprise at Nangxiang's house today. My brain is a little down. Actually, it was Ili's initiative. It seemed that he noticed the gazes of Kita Ikuyo and Ijishi Najika. Nangxiangshi took the initiative to explain. "I personally simulated it for an hour, and Nangxiangshi accompanied Nangxiang Ili to pick out Valentine's Day gifts. But only halfway. His wife, who has always been timid, made a request to herself. Not just for her. My love simulation with them." Author, Chiudeo Udazi Iway. Chapter 236. I also bought a Valentine's Day gift for Yamada Ryo, Ijishi Hikaru, and Kita Ikuyo. This request seemed a bit incomprehensible to Nangxiangshi. But now I see my wife. I just want everyone to have a happy Valentine's Day with us. Nangxiang Ili laughed. Otherwise, Valentine's Day without gifts would be too lonely. Little loneliness. Seeing the appearance of Nango Ichiri, Itaki Hungzia, and Kita Ikuyo were a little moved. The other person is always thinking about others behind his back. Even in a certain place, it is always so delicate and able to detect the feelings of others. Perhaps it is precisely because of this that Nangxiang chose Nangxiang Ili? Hold the gift in your hand. Ichiki Hunka and Kita Ikuyo thanked Nango Ichiri and Nango Toki softly. And Ms. Yamada on the other side? After also expressing her gratitude, she was already opening gifts. When she saw clearly that what was inside was the Bluetooth headset she had always wanted, she made a happy sound of "oh." This person is still the same from beginning to end. Seeing Yamada Ryo's actions, Everyone couldn't help laughing and shaking their heads. But maybe that's exactly what it is. It's never a dull moment in a band. Everyone always communicates easily and happily. And this laughter is gradually enriched by the happy and warm atmosphere in the air. The time is 7:30 at night. See you tomorrow then. Okay. See you tomorrow. Standing at the door, I bid farewell to Yamada Ryo, Kita Ikuyo, and Itakechi Honka. After working hard for a long time, Nangxiang Shi and Nangxiang Ili returned home contentedly. The two of them looked at the time. It was quite early to realize that Nangxiang Ili was tidying up the things on the table, turning his head and asking in a low voice. "Ah Shi, do you want some tea?" She knew that her husband had always had a habit of drinking a cup of tea to warm his stomach before washing up and going to bed at night. Not urgent. Nan Xiangxi blinked his eyes and looked at his wife's busy and hard work. He couldn't help but stretched out his hand and took her into his arms. "Sit with me for a while first, Ili." "Well." Nangxiang Ili's face turned slightly red. She was so meek by nature that she didn't dare to resist her husband's sudden attack. And until then, it was only in Nangxiang that I had the opportunity to formally take a look at what Nangxiang Ili will look like when he matures. Her long pink hair is slightly scattered, and when busy, she will tie it into a single ponytail for easy movement. The long bangs on her forehead that were too long when she was a student have long been trimmed completely, giving her a virtuous and dignified look. Exquisite facial features and small cherry pink lips. Skin that is too fair. If you smell it carefully, you can even smell the fragrance of the shampoo on the other person's hair. But what attracted people's attention was the other person's figure that was as beautiful as a cherry blossom in spring. As early as when he was a student, Nangxiang Ili's figure was already crushing all the girls in the band. At that time, she was still a little green. But now it is completely different. Her mature body and girlish heart made Nangxiang gently caress the side of her face. "Ah Shi." Nangxiang Ili lowered his head shyly and spoke in an inaudible voice. "No take is still awake." The meaning of her words was actually very clear. He had no intention of rejecting Nangxiang. "I'm just saying that if the child is still awake, the movement should be a little quieter." Regarding his wife's obedience and docility, Nangxiang Shi also smiled, gently held his wife's palm, and whispered into her ear. "I was learning to compose music with Ryo early this morning." No take was already tired and fell asleep just now. As he spoke, he asked his wife to sit on the sofa nearby, took her hand and said, "Ili, sleep later today." Well. It seemed that he already knew what was going to happen next. Nangxiang glanced around, and after finding no one, he held Nangxiang Shi's hand tightly and nodded softly and shyly, "Yes." At this time, the night outside Nangxiang's house was deep. Occasionally, a car horn pierced the silence of the night sky. The Milky Way pours down from the Tokyo night sky. I don't know whose heart it will fall into in the end. Chapter 185. A happy ending for everyone hidden in the personal simulation. When all the movement stopped, Nangxiang gently stroked a mile of Nangxiang's hair and looked at her smooth and white back that was as beautiful as a snow-capped mountain. I was satisfied when I was in Nangxiang. Satisfied indeed. I have a wife with such a gentle personality. There is also a daughter who is extremely talented in learning. Nangxiang was contented. But don't know why. Nangxiang Shi always felt that something else seemed to be hidden under his wife's beautiful and dignified face. It's just that the other party considered his own feelings and didn't speak out his words. Taking a deep breath of his wife's scent, Nangxiang Shi stroked her smooth back and asked, "Ili, are you worried about something?" "Ah." When her husband suddenly asked her, Nangxiang's fair face turned red obviously. "No, it's nothing, Ah Shi, dash." The last moment of her voice was prolonged because Nangxiang's lips blocked hers, and her blue eyes widened in panic. "Say it." He let go of his mouth and spoke when Nang Xiang spoke. Nang Xiang Ili lowered his head shyly and opened his mouth hesitantly. Well, the tail sound is drawn out again. She left her husband's arms with a blushing face. He was forcefully kissed one after another. Even in Nang Xiang, there is a bit of food and shelter. With watery blue eyes, she finally put aside her hesitation and expressed her thoughts. I was actually thinking about Liang Sang, Hongxia-chan and Kita-chan. Think about their affairs. Nang Xiang. She looked at Nang Xiang, waiting for her to continue. Nang Xiang Ili responded in a low voice, even in this posture, it looked very beautiful. Ryo, Hongxia-chan and Kita-chan are all 30 or 31 this year. Toki must also know about this. Okay, I know. Probably knowing what Nang Xiang Ili wanted to say, Nang Xiang nodded. The three of them are still single even now. When Nang Xiang Ili said this, he couldn't help but let out a small sigh. She is not a fool. Naturally, we know the reasons why Yamada Ryo, Itaka Hikaru and Kita Ikuyo remain single. It's not that there aren't good men pursuing them. But these men's pursuits, Yamada Ryo, Ichiki Hikaru and Kita Ikuyo basically rejected them all. And the reason why they refused. Nang Xiang Ili gently raised his head and looked at his husband. Even if you are already over 30. Nan Xiangshi's face is still handsome, and his eyes are still so bright, clean, and penetrating. It was just like when I first met him and got to know him more than 10 years ago. It was as if time had not left any trace on that face at all. On the contrary, something that has settled down has turned into the mature charm of a man, making it easier for him to attract women's attention. So I have been thinking, is it really okay for me to be happy alone? Nang Xiang Ili approached Nang Xiang's chest and murmured. The guys who ended the band were and still are one. Life is indeed very happy now. But whenever I see Yamada Ryo, Itaka Hikaru and Kita Ikuyo, there is always an indescribable feeling of regret in Nang Xiang. Is it really good to only achieve happiness by yourself? Even if Ryo Yamada, Hikaru Itaka and Ikuyo Kita didn't care and sent their blessings to her, it's equivalent to living with her now. Their single situation has not changed at all. To be honest, I actually don't care if they share it with me. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udaziiwei. Chapter 237. Nang Xiang Ili gently raised his head and looked at his husband. As she watched, her husband also showed a look of gradual understanding. When I was in Nang Xiang, I really understood Nang Xiang. In fact, after the happy ending simulation, he often thinks about why Nang Xiang Ili's simulation is so perfect, his dream is fulfilled, he has children, and his married life is so perfect, but in the end it only stops at 92 points. Now, he probably understood why. Even if Ichiki Hikaru, Yamada Ryo and Kita Ikuyo no longer care. But Nang Xiang Ili, who is kind and weak by nature, cannot accept it so easily. She couldn't accept being part of the band's quartet. In the end, she was the only one to achieve a happy ending. This woman has her own strength and persistence from beginning to end. The four of us are of the same mind. Nang Xiang Ili spoke softly. This is why I asked Shi to buy gifts from Hongxiajiang, Liang Sang, and Kita-jiang today. Is it? Nang Xiangshi responded. Nodding gently and slowly, Nang Xiang Ili raised his head. Didn't Toki see it? The expressions of Hongxia-chan, Liang Sang, and Kita-chan when they received the gifts today. Smile. It was a bright smile that Nang Xiang Ili had never imagined before. It's like crossing time. They went back to 14 years ago again, ending the day when the band was first formed. After seeing their smiles today, I realized, I have always wanted them to be happy too, Ashi. Nangxiang Ili expressed all the thoughts that he had been holding in his heart for these years and wanted to say but had no way to express. I think, Liang Sang, Hongxia Chan, and Kita Chan must think so too. Nangxiang Shi. Really? There are some simulation details that can only be known after personally simulating them. For example, this time Nangxiang Ili took the initiative to confess his thoughts at night. Nangxiang Shi looked at his wife who had finished speaking, with a blushing face and lowered his head, not daring to look at his wife, and fell into thinking. Since Nangxiang Ili in the simulation would say such a thing, then it means that the real Goto Kazuri actually has such thoughts in his heart. Nangxiang Ili is still as kind and gentle as ever, always thinking about his friends. Perhaps it is this rare quality. That's why she is so charming. Thinking of this, Nangxiang reached out and touched her head. But her words also made Nangxiang Shi unable to help but think deeply. That's other people's problem. If it is true what Nangxiang Ili said, the choice to be made here is quite obvious. Take the path of happiness for all, without leaving any regrets. But, this is just a matter of simulation after all. Nangxiang Shi groaned. No matter how you make a choice in the simulation, there is still room for maneuver. But what if the issue of happiness for all people mentioned by Nangxiang Ili is also put into reality? So how should he choose? This made Nangxiang Shi have to think. However, Nangxiang didn't think about it for too long. The cell phone placed on the bedside table suddenly rang. Line has a new notification for receiving messages. Nangxiang Shi took the phone over and took advantage of the bright light of the phone screen to glance at it. Who sent the message? Ah, she. Next to him, Nangxiang Ili looked over curiously. Ah, it's a message from Sister Zinga. Nangxiang Shi replied, stood up and started to get dressed, and said with a smile, she said she wanted me to go over and have a drink with her. It's late at night, I'd better go over there. Itaki Hoshige is also a mature woman. I was drinking alone out late at night, so it was indeed unsafe when I returned home. The only male they were familiar with was Nangxiang Shi. So they would often call and ask him to come over and drink with them, actually asking him to help take them home. This is just a piece of cake. After all, the Ichiki family, Kitaka family, Yamada family, and their Nangxiang family all lived on the same street. After saving a lot of money when they were active in the band in the early years, everyone simply lived on the same street. It costs some money though. But compared to the huge sum of money accumulated by the band over the years as a popular rock band in the country, this money can only be regarded as a drop in the bucket. Yeah. Be careful on the road, Ashi. Watching Nangxiang Shi put on his clothes one by one, Nangxiang Shi watched him leave. Okay. I'll pay attention. After giving a simple answer, Nangxiang went downstairs and followed the memory he had simulated in his mind, heading towards the izakaya shop where Ichi Hoshige and the others often went to drink. After leaving the residential area, walk straight ahead along the road, and then walk along a small downhill road. When I was in Nangxiang, I saw an izakaya with white lanterns hanging, navy curtains, and orange lights. Open the door curtain and enter. With just one glance, Nango saw Hiroi Kairi, who was yelling at the waiter to serve drinks, and Hoshika Itaka, who was eating a skewer of yakitori, chicken skewers, on the other side. Hiroi Kairi still looks the same, but she looks more mature than before. Itaka Zinga was wearing a knitted black sweater, and her blonde hair was not dull at all. On the far right side of them is Miss Pa, who is still elegant and lazy. And the arrival of seeing Nangxiang, Hiroi Kairi, Ichi Hoshige, and Miss Pa came to have some energy. Especially Hiroi Kairi, who stretched out her hand very simply. Ah, Nangxiang is here. Come on, come on. Sit next to me. Her voice was loud and she was holding a wine bottle in her hand, which was very eye-catching. Nangxiang Shi held his forehead. Who will take care of this crazy woman who is clearly in her 40s but still looks like a child? No way. Nang Xiangxi finally took a seat. Sitting next to Ichi Hoshige. Hey? Why don't you sit next to Sister Julie? Brother Nang Xiang, it's true. Hiroi Kairi was still as energetic as before, muttering and making dissatisfied noises. You are already in your 40s, so you should pay more attention to your image, right? After accepting the skewered bird skewers from Hoshige Take, Nango thanked him and did not forget to remind Hiroi Kairi. Time has passed too fast. The Nangxiang guy who used to always follow me around and call me Julie's sister is actually married now. First of all, the first point is completely wrong. I have never followed behind you. Secondly, I have been married for 9 years. I am not married now. Nangxiang glanced sideways at Hiroi Kairi. Damn it! Why am I still single? General, have another bottle of sake. Listening to Nang Xiangxi's words, Hiroi Kairi let out a voice of grief and indignation. She is similar to Ichi Shinji and Miss Pa, and has been single to this day. The latter two are simply not interested in love. And she is the type who has never found someone she is satisfied with. In addition, she has been busy with her rock career and has no time to fall in love. So it has been postponed until now. That's it? Nangxiang blocked the sake bottle handed over by the izakaya general and glanced sideways at Hiroi Kairi. Have you forgotten the doctor's advice? This man has been particularly fond of drinking since he started playing rock music. Even now I still can't quit. Among the people he knew, this guy was probably in the worst health. After all, the concerts are held at midnight. Plus he drinks constantly every day. If this continues, if the other party is older, he may die on the spot. Even in reality, Nangxiang always wanted to force her to quit drinking. If he drinks like this, Hiroi Kairi's body will collapse sooner or later. Although there is a universal cure that can bring it back. But wine is only suitable for drinking, not suitable for her drinking style of drinking several bottles at every turn. Why? Hiroi Kairi made a dissatisfied sound. I think Nangxiang is right. Itakazinga just had 2 drinks, let's take this opportunity to quit drinking, Hiroi. Even seniors say that. No, alcohol is the only thing that can comfort me in my life. There's nothing wrong with giving up on this kind of life, right? Yi Jizing spoke sharply. Seeing the two of them bickering, Miss Pa hid her face and snickered. Same as ending the band. The friendship between the adults in the Stars Performance Hall has not deteriorated with the passage of time. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 238. He said he was drinking with a few of them. In fact, I didn't drink much when I was in Nangxiang. I just ate roasted bird skewers and chatted with them about interesting topics. Over the years, Yuji Zinga has already handed over the Fangxing Performance Hall to Yuji's Hai Hongxia. Miss Pa was urged to get married by her parents all day long, but she was not in such a hurry and always looked cheerful and smiling. As for Hiroi Kairi, as stated before, she is still the same as before, busy with her rock career, and now she is a popular rock bassist. She is no longer limited to the exhibition hall, and sometimes she even holds concerts with her peers. It's just that her health hasn't been very good recently. She probably drank too much when she was young and didn't know how to control it. The doctor suggested that she should drink in moderation in the future. I came here when I was in Nangxiang, not so much to drink with them. It's better to act more as a friend of women and listen to their recent troubles. It's just that the trouble of listening today seems to be different than before. Nangxiang couldn't help but look at Ichiki Hoshige on the other side. He always felt that the other party seemed to have other things to say. The follow-up also seemed to verify Nangxiang's thoughts. Drink the last glass of sake. In a slightly tipsy state, Yi Jizinga spoke. Nangxiang, actually, I have something to discuss with you when I come here this time. She put down her wine glass, looked at Nangxiang, and spoke word by word. It's a discussion about my sister's future life events. Chapter 186. Love is like a sudden rain, but it never stops, 4,200 words. It's a discussion about my sister's future life events. As soon as Yi de Jizinga said these words, Hiroikakuri, who was making a fuss just now, fell silent. Miss Pa also opened her eyes that were always smiling and looked over. It seems that both of them know the main reason why Jizinga asked Nangxiang to come over today. Please say. Sensing the change in the atmosphere, Nangxiang Shi also raised his head. It's useless to play tricks with Nangxiang. I don't like talking in roundabout ways, so I went straight to the point. Yi Jizinga put his hands on the table. What do you think of my sister? This question is actually not difficult to answer. Nangxiang Shi, who had been with Yuji Hongxia for more than 10 years, didn't even need to think about it, and spoke, as expected, I should be considerate. In fact, there is no need to mention external factors such as being lively, cheerful, and generous. Perhaps what impressed him most about Yuji Hongxia was her understanding. A character that can be considerate of everyone and tolerate everyone. This is the most important reason why the band persisted from the beginning to the end. She is an outstanding person, from her time as a student to now. Nangxiang Shi made his own evaluation. But no need for unnecessary compliments. Yi Jizinga shook his head. What she wanted to hear now was not the kind of evaluation that she could give just by knowing Ijishi Hongxia. What she wants to hear, what she wants to know is, what do you think of my sister? As your wife. As soon as the words were spoken, Nangxiang frowned. I already have a wife. So I also said, if, this is just a hypothesis. Yi Jizinga didn't care and waved his hand to continue the conversation. What if? Making this assumption when a person is married. Nangxiang's emotional intelligence is not low. At this moment, he already understood what Yi de Jizinga wanted to say. But he still said what he wanted to say. If Hongxia is his wife, then she should be very happy, right? She is very capable, gentle, considerate, and considerate. Right. Yi Jizinga was very satisfied with Nangxiang Shi's answer. No matter what happens, Hongxia definitely has the potential to be a good wife. So. Her voice paused. Nangxiang, you also know that my sister is still single, right? She is 31 this year. When Ichizinge spoke like this, his bright red eyes stared at Nangxiang, including Ryo, Kita, Nangxiang, who do you think they are waiting for? How many 31s are there in life? 31 years old. In the blink of an eye, we are approaching the age of 40 or 50. The clock is ticking. This is something that Yuji Zinga, who is in his 40s, can clearly feel. Time flies. But his younger sisters, Ikuyo Kita and Ryo Yamada, who are in the same band, still remain single to this day. Although Ichiki Hongxia often smiled and told her not to care about such things. But time passes. A woman's youth is also wasted at this stage. So, Nangxiang, you should know what 30 means to a girl. Yi Jizinga raised his eyes calmly and spoke softly, but as if there was something heavy in it. They have been waiting for you, Nangxiang, you should know that. I do know this very well. Faced with Yi Jizinga's words, Nangxiangshi did not deny it. Denying the fact is right there on your face will only make you appear guilty and indecisive. He is not that kind of person. But if it really develops into a relationship like that, wouldn't you care? Nangxiangshi turned to ask Yi de Jizinga. His sister fell in love with him who was already married, and that hasn't changed so far. Even ended up liking him along with all the members of the band. If you really take the path of sharing his feelings in the end, could it be that Yi Jizinga didn't have any objections in his heart? This is obviously impossible. But what's the use of caring? So what if I have an opinion? Yiji Zinga held up his face and asked in turn. Even if you care, even if you have an opinion. It is impossible for her to change Yuji's Haihongzia's wishes and thoughts. That was the sister she had always cherished. It's actually been so long. Miss Pa also spoke next to her. You know, our group of people are already over 40, and many things have actually been very dull for a long time. The person has reached his 40s. Compared with when they were young, they no longer have the entangled thoughts that are easy to get into trouble. Especially for Yuji Zinga. No matter how entangled you are, nothing is as real as Hongxia's happiness. Yuji Zinga exhaled, only the happiness you get is the most important. Other things, to be honest, are not that important. Itake Hongxia has been rejecting men who take the initiative to contact her these years. And Yuji Zinga looked at it and kept thinking. How to do it is the best for Yuji Hongxia. And she finally came to a conclusion. My sister is happy, and this is the most important thing. In turn. Nangxiang, do you really think this is good? Yuji Xing's tone was calm, but the meaning in his words made Nangxiang think deeply. Is this really a good idea? Is this going to be okay? Yi Dizhi Xing Ji's question goes straight to the original intention of Nangxiang. It's not just this time of in-person simulation. It's the same even in reality. Nangxiang she had already noticed it. In real life, it was time for him to consider this issue. Nishiki Kishu, Inu Takina, Yamada Ryo, Shinjo Akane, and Godu Kazuriko are all still waiting for him. Nangxiang she was thinking about the answer, but did not answer Yuji Zinga's question for the time being. And Yuji Zinga did not force Nangxiang she to answer at this time. Because she knows. This problem cannot be solved by simply saying okay or yes. If you really choose the path that makes everyone happy, then there must be a lot of things and responsibilities to shoulder. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi Iway. Chapter 239. Just considering this point, it is not something that can be answered in a short while. Several people finished the last bit of food with their own thoughts and stood up to pay the bill. From Nango, I sent Hiroikairi and Miss Pa home. Finally, Ichiki Zinga was sent back to Ichiki's home. I drank a little and said some strange words that were out of character. I'm sorry, Nangxiang. Itake Xing's character is still as straightforward as ever, and he simply apologizes. Although I still feel a little regretful that I haven't heard Nangxiang Shi's answer until now. But she had already put the problem in front of Nangxiang Shi. How to move forward on the next road, it all depends on Nangxiang Shi's choice. She was just about to turn around and go back to the house. The next second. Sister Zinga, I think I have the answer. From behind, Nangxiang Shi's steady voice came. Yeah. Yuji Zinga turned back to look at Nangxiang with some curiosity. Then she realized that Nangxiang Shi behind her was also looking at her. They were a pair of pure, clean, black pearl-like eyes. Yuji Zinga laughed and didn't ask any more questions. Because it was just from Nangxiang Shi's eyes. She had already understood the decision he had made. Now that the decision has been made, it's not her turn to interrupt. She walked back into the house and only gave Nangxiang Shi a come-on gesture. Nangxiang Shi also nodded gently at her back. He had indeed thought about it. After all, you don't have to think about it so much from the beginning. Nangxiang Shi walked towards his home. He never complicates a simple problem. The question that Yuji Zinga put in front of him was a very simple question. Get rid of all cluttered thoughts. Only then did Nangxiang realize that he actually already had the answer in his mind. He wanted everyone to be happy from the beginning. And even Yudi's Hixinga and Nangxiang Ili supported him. Then, what to do next is very simple. Returned home again when he was in Nangxiang. After a brief wash, he lay down on the bedding again. At this time, Nangxiang Ili was not asleep yet. Ah she, are you back? In the darkness, a questioning voice came out. Nang Xiangxi responded to her. The two fell silent for a moment. After a while. 1 mile. I've thought carefully about what you said earlier. That topic before? Ah. In the darkness, Nang Xiangili seemed to notice something. Just like you don't want to see them unhappy, I feel the same way. After all, they have been waiting for more than 10 years. Nang Xiang sighed. The most precious 10 years in my life. Ryo Yamada, Hikaru Itaka, and Ikuyo Kida, who ended the band, all spent their time waiting. If you still delay, how many more than 10 years can it last? In the darkness, although Nang Xiangili's expression could not be clearly seen, but it was clearly felt in Nang Xiang. She breathed a sigh of relief, as if she had let go of a huge stone that had been weighing on her heart. She must have been in a state of suffering. She alone is happy. In the end, other members of the band were unable to obtain the most precious thing, happiness as a partner in life. Ah she. Nang Xiangili lowered his voice and spoke hesitantly. Would you like to buy a bigger house in the future? Nang Xiangshi's voice was a little strange. What's wrong? Five adults, living together, the current house, is a bit small, right? Nang Xiangili spoke softly. As soon as she said these words, Nang Xiangshi on the side couldn't help but laugh. Should it be said that it is worthy of Nangxiang district? Things that would make everyone happy have not been mentioned yet. She had already thought that far ahead. But, yes, he murmured as if in agreement. If 5 adults live together, the current one-family house is really small. But that's something that needs to be considered later. At this time, there are still half an hour left before the in-person simulation officially ends. I don't know if the simulation will lead to a change in the ending like Miss Yamada's simulation. Thinking like this, Nang Xiang closed his eyes. Due to changes in the simulation object in the future, the simulation process has changed and the score has changed. Please confirm. Sure enough, something has changed. Nang Xiangxi looked at the word simulating ending changes floating in front of him and nodded gently. It seems that the choices you make during the personal simulation will also affect the subsequent development of the simulation. This time I made the choice of happy ending for all. I don't know what will happen next. Nang Xiangxi looked at the simulation process column. You have never been an indecisive person. My wife has always thought that Iji Xing hopes that Iji Hongxia can achieve happiness. You have clearly received it? Until this moment, you realize that only guaranteeing the happiness of one person in Nangxiang is just your own wishful thinking. What they hope is that you can take responsibility for everyone. They have been waiting for you for more than 10 years. Is it possible to keep them waiting? You first came to Yuji's Hai Hongxia's door. This girl who confessed her love to you before but was rejected by you has long since become mature and intellectual. Just like she mustered up the courage to confess to you more than 10 years ago, this time, you did not hesitate and reached out your hand. Knock on the door. It was February 15th, which was an ordinary morning for anyone in the world. But for you, this day is unusual. The course has definitely changed. Feeling the memory fragments transmitted from the simulated memory, Nan Xiangxi let out a breath. In the happy ending with Ichiri Goto, there are very few scenes involving Najika Itaka, Ryo Yamada, and Ikuyo Kida. But in this brand new route of happiness for all, there was a memory scene where he took the initiative to visit Ijishi Hongxia's door. So what changes will happen to the ending and scoring? System score, 97 points. You have completed a happy ending for all. System evaluation, the choice is painful, but the happy feelings are shared equally. You have spent countless time getting to know them, and choosing one of the 4 people who are in love with you makes people feel regretful and sad. But even so, they didn't complain at all about your choice. I just have extraordinary tolerance and love for you. This love, even if it takes more than 10 years, cannot be smoothed away, but is like a fine wine that becomes stronger and stronger. I do not like you. They never tell you such lies, because they know that such words cannot deceive themselves at all. But there are not so many more than 10 years in life. They can wait for you for 1 more than 10 years, and wait for you for 2 more than 10 years, but they cannot wait for the 3rd or 4th more than 10 years. They want you to be happy, but why don't you want them to be happy? This time, you made up your mind and knocked on their door. That morning. That ordinary morning. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udaziiwe. Chapter 240. After more than 10 years, the love still hasn't faded, like a sudden rain, but also like it never stops. Chapter 187. 5 people do this and that together, 4,000 words. 97 points. Looking at the terrifying value in front of him, Nangxiang touched his chin. It's not that the score is too high. But he felt. Isn't this score a bit low? Nangxiang, she muttered. He is very confident. He had not even a doubt that he could make everyone happy. But even everyone is happy. In the end, it still didn't reach the perfect ending of 100 points. This made Nangxiang Shi a little concerned. The conditions for a happy ending of 97 points are already so stringent, as his wife, Ichiri Nango agrees, Ichi Hoshige encourages, plus the love of the 4 people. In the end, everyone must be happy to reach the height of 97 points. So, what about that illusory 100-point ending? For a 100-point perfect ending, how demanding are the conditions to achieve it? Nangxiang Shi thought carefully for a while. After thinking about it, he shook his head with a smile and sighed. To think that such a simple truth should be considered, it is impossible to get 100%. That's right, it's simply impossible to score 100 points. Just like there can be no perfect things in the world. There will always be small regrets in life. Even if the overall melody is happy and beautiful. But it is impossible to take into account all the small flaws in life. Even the natural laws of birth, old age, illness, and death, which cannot be violated, can bring regrets to relationships. So just thinking about it roughly, I already knew it in Nangxiang. The so-called 100-point perfect ending is basically impossible. There's no way it could end like that. If it really exists. So how pure should the other person's feelings be? The heroine in a fairy tale? When I was in Nangxiang, I didn't dare to think anymore. Putting aside the idea of a perfect ending, Nangxiang took a sip of water and glanced at the time. Under the immersive experience of personal simulation. Half an hour has passed in real life. Nangxiang sat back down at the round table and counted the harvest this time. Although there is no purely material gain, there is a lot of spiritual gain this time. It's not just the time when I was in the room with Nango Ichiri in the in-person simulation. What's more important is the gains in cognitive thinking during Nangxiang. The route where everyone is happy. Nangxiang Shi knocked on the table. After this time Ichi Hoshige and Nango Ichiri expressed their opinions, he had to start thinking about his attitude and thoughts towards girls in real life. Nangxiang opened the status of each simulated object. The attitude of Goto Kazuri and Yamada Ryo towards him has not changed. It's still the same terrifying favorability level. Entries such as love is dependent on and only you. Because I have seen it before. Nangxiang Shi just glanced at it this time and passed by. Then came Nishiki Chisuke and Shinjo Akane's impressions of him. Open it when you are in Nangxiang. Simulated object, Nishiki Kishu, status, the one I love is none other than you. Apparently, After yesterday's Oka festival, Nishiki Kishu's favorability towards him has increased again. It seems clear that there are at least 2 more entries. It seems that giving a gift to Nishiki Kishu really touched her. Then the next step is. Nangxiang wrote Akane Shinjo's name thoughtfully. Simulated object, Shinjo Akane, status, love is like stars, never stops, only you. Nangxiang she groaned. After the Oka festival, not only Nishiki Kishu, but also Akane Shinjo's favorability has also increased significantly. But this is of course. Akane Shinjo realized her dream with him at the Oka festival. The first step in the Takyozatsu drama was taken. It is natural that her favorable impression of herself will be greatly improved. Nangxiang closed the list of simulated objects and lay down on the bed. The bright light of the incandescent lamp that was not turned off was as bright as the sun above the head. But Nangxiang she didn't care. The current ones are Goto Kazuri, Yamada Ryo, Nishiki Kishu, and Shinjo Akane. Just like the ending band simulated by Goto Kazuri happy ending this time, everyone has a love for themselves that cannot be described in words. Nangxiang also believed it. If the characters of Toiki Sato, Yamada Ryo, Nishiki Kishu, and Shinjo Akane are the same in the future, what they have been waiting for more than 10 years is very likely to happen. Goto doesn't need to say a word. In the personal simulation, she took the initiative to live with the other 3 members of the band, which is enough to explain something. Ms. Yamada, she was even more exaggerated. She accompanied her in almost every simulation. Although she failed all the time, she was waiting by the side every time she failed. As for Nishiki Kishu, although she has a sunny and cheerful personality towards everyone, it was because of the moment Nangxiang used the universal healing medicine to save her life. There was no trace of anyone else in her eyes. Miss Shinjo seemed to have the least reason to wait. But he was the first person to take off the mask that concealed her. Similarly, when she wanted to realize her dream of Takyozatsu, she only took the first step with herself. So of course, Miss Shinjo naturally wants to take the second and third steps with herself. Is it possible to make them wait for me like the simulation? Until more than 10 years later? Let him knock on the door of their hearts again? Just think about it. Nangxiang felt that this was an extremely indecisive approach. Although things like everyone is happy and you are all my wings are not things that good people can do. But Nangxiang she actually always felt that he was not a good person, and he never thought of himself as a kind-hearted person with a gentle personality. And the most important thing is, since sooner or later it will knock on the door of their hearts. Why did he delay their youth for more than 10 years? This was an extremely stupid thing to do. And watching others for more than 10 years is also a kind of pain for them, isn't it? Nangxiang rubbed his temples. It was still early, and with a lot of thoughts on his mind, he still couldn't sleep. After thinking for a while, he took out his phone and opened Line. I found an avatar that resembled a clay doll. Ryo Yamada's avatar is always so recognizable among girls. He reached out and clicked it open, then sent the message. The most beautiful boy in Tokyo, Ryo, have you slept? Aloof bassist weirdo? The aloof bassist, what's the matter? To put it simply and concisely, shouldn't it be said that he is worthy of Ryo Yamada? Nangxiang she thought for a while, and his fingers began to dance on the screen. And at the same time on the other side. Why did you message me at night? Yawning, Yamada Ryo woke up and leaned on the soft sofa at home, holding a black and white pillow. He held the pillow between his smooth white calves and stared at the screen of his mobile phone. There's something strange about her. After all, it was usually her who took the initiative to contact Nangxiang. Like this time, Nangxiang she took the initiative to contact her. Although they are few. If it were anyone else. It was so late to send her a message. She probably just took a look at it, and then she disliked the trouble of typing and threw the phone aside, Even if someone said it was unreadable, she didn't care because of her free-spirited personality. But it's time after all. Yamada Ryo rested his smooth and white chin on the pillow and looked at the phone in his hand. When it comes to Nangxiang, I don't know why, but she always has patience and tolerance that is beyond the understanding of ordinary people. But my love simulation with them. Author, Chiu Dao Yu de Zi Wei. Chapter 241. The time was originally mine. An elegant and lazy voice muttered. So it's natural to wait for him here and be a little tolerant to him. She cheered up slightly and looked at the screen of her phone. I saw a message sent over there soon. The most beautiful boy in Tokyo, I want to ask your opinion on something. Yamada Ryo tilted his head. Aloof bassist, what's going on? The most beautiful boy in Tokyo, if one day, are you willing to accept other girls around me? Yamada Ryo's expression did not change at all. For others, this was an earth-shattering statement. In Miss Yamada's eyes, it's just. Aloof bassist weirdo, are you chatting with me at night just for such a trivial matter? The aloof bassist, well, who did you fall in love with at the end of the day, the one with blonde hair, the one with pink and purple hair? Sure enough, if you want to attack first, it would be Ely. She looks the easiest to bully, and I can help you take her down. Send this message very cleanly. Miss Yamada yawned again. At the same time on the other side receiving the message. You are indeed worthy of being Miss Yamada. Looking at the message sent by Ryo Yamada, Nangxiang couldn't help but sigh. This was not the first time that he had heard Miss Yamada sigh. But no matter which time, Miss Yamada's replies always surprised him. This woman doesn't seem to have the idea of playing her cards according to the routine in her eyes. But that's why I'm willing to talk to Ms. Yamada about this. Sit upright when you are in Nangxiang. There are some words that can be said to Ryo Yamada, and only to Ryo Yamada. Because this is the only one who accompanies me every time I run for love. But the girl who is always unwilling to give up will listen to him say these words. Send the message to Nangxiang. The most beautiful boy in Tokyo, don't you care at all? Aloof bass freak, why should I care? Aloof bass freak, I just want time to make me happy. As for how many people you like and how many people you want to date, it has nothing to do with me. It's troublesome just thinking about it. Yamada Ryo stretched and yawned cutely. She doesn't like to think about complicated things. For her, as long as she lives well and is comfortable, that's all. As for other things, she didn't care, and she didn't want to care at all. And the most important thing is, the aloof bassist, although I don't know if it's an illusion, I always feel like I've seen this happen countless times. The most beautiful boy in Tokyo, have you seen this happen countless times? The lonely bass weirdo, maybe it's a dream, but I don't remember it clearly. I just vaguely feel that I failed quite a few times in my relationship with she, right, lost to all kinds of women. The most beautiful boy in Tokyo. Nangxiang's mood was just like the punctuation mark he sent. As expected, he is indeed the ace player in the world of love escorts. Has Ms. Yamada actually noticed it? After various defeats in the simulation, he finally became a guaranteed card. The aloof bassist, if you want to, just do it, I can help you. Sleepy, fell asleep. Send the last message. Yamada Ryo stood up from the sofa and fell directly into the soft bed next to him. The girl fell into a deep sleep. She didn't see it. On the mobile phone she put aside, there was a note on the last message sent to her by the person she liked. The most beautiful boy in Tokyo, good night, Ryo. Nangxiang sent the message for a long time but did not receive a reply. I guessed that Ms. Yamada was already asleep. After sighing at her freedom, Nangxiang put the phone next to him, then turned his head and looked out the window. From his position, he could see Tokyo illuminated by neon lights. I don't know that my memory has changed after this personal simulation. Will it reach where Goto Ichiri is? According to MS Yamada's previous reaction, after personally simulating it, the changed memory should also be transferred to the mind of the simulated subject. So logically speaking, never mind. Nang Xiangxi lay down on the bed again. There's no use thinking about it. Instead of thinking about whether these things are present or not, it is better to think about what Futabrio has to do with him tomorrow. This girl who was temporarily removed from the list of simulated objects. Don't know what I want to do. Nang Xiang thought about it and closed his eyes. It was shortly after he closed his eyes. Huh? 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 The Goto family located outside Meguro Ward. Goto Ichisato woke up from his sleep, his face flushed. The changes in the memories in her mind caught her off guard. The lingering incident with Nang Xiang made her nose feel hot and almost bleed just thinking about it. Especially memories like that are too real. It was as if this had happened and she had actually experienced it. Shijun's palm is so big, a little soft. No, that's not right. Now is not the time to think about these things. Shaking his head hard. That's right. This is not the time to think about this at all. The key is that dream, such a real memory in my mind. Everyone is also with me. Goto Ichiri's expression turned completely red as he recalled the memories in his mind. Different from previous memories. This time the memory has the effect of ending the existence of the other members of the band. When she was with Nang Xiang, she lived with them. 5 people doing this and that. Chapter 188. What happened to Ryo Futaba, 4100 words. Living with everyone? 5 people, doing this and that together? Just the thought of it? Goto, who was wearing an old shirt as pajamas, turned red on his fair face. This kind of thing, is too. She fell down on the bed with a thud. And this huge sound naturally made Naoki Goto and Mikiyo Goto aware of it in the master bedroom downstairs. 2 people went upstairs strangely. Then. Ili. What's going on? Why are there so many nosebleeds? And she, do this, and that kind of thing. Goto Ichisato, who had a nosebleed and was trapped in his own world, made a dull sound. Quick! Get the ice cubes. There are also charms to ward off evil spirits. Late at night, the Goto family was busy with work. After more than 10 minutes. After being relocated and with his nosebleed stopped, Goto Kazuri looked at the empty ceiling. My parents have gone back to rest. And she finally calmed down and thought about the things in the memory fragments. The memory this time is basically the same as the last time. They are all very real experiences. The only difference from the last time was that she lived with the other members of the ending band and Nang Xiangxi until she grew old. If you have to say it, this ending is actually quite out of common sense. But everyone is very happy.